How are we doing, VC? Hope everyone's good and hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm going to be talking about Pantera, rating the studio albums from 1990 to 2000. Not going to do their 80s output because quite different from what they were doing in the 90s. If you're familiar with that stuff, you'll know that they sounded more like sort of Van Halen or Def Leppard. So, not going to do that today. Just going to do the albums from 1990 to 2000. For me, Pantera are probably the most important metal band of the 90s. Not saying that they're my favourite, but with regards to what was going on with metal at the time when I discovered them in 1992, things had changed a lot for metal. Judas Priest had lost Rob Halford in 92. Bruce Dickinson left Iron Maiden in 1993. And the thrash scene was on its arse. I mean, the thrash bands for me were still releasing good albums. Metallica's Black Album, Megadeth's Cannon to Extinction, Testament's The Ritual, Exodus's Force of Habit. Still good albums, but they definitely weren't thrash. More toned down, going down a more commercial route because of Metallica, I should imagine, with their success with the Black Album. Other bands sort of kind of had to follow suit, really. Probably pressure from record companies, you know. Um, and if you were looking for something new, a bit more extreme, I think Pantera were the band really. And when I say extreme, I mean with regards to commercial metal. If you're into extreme stuff, you would have known by a few years now what was going on in Florida by that time. What had been going on in Florida for the last few years, and over in Sweden as well, with the death metal scene there and the death metal scene in Florida. If you weren't really into death metal and you were looking for a new metal band, Pantera the band really, as far as I'm concerned, it was like the passing of the torch really. When you had the pass of the torch back in the early 80s from Black Sabbath to Metallica, this is the passing of the torch as far as I'm concerned from Metallica to Pantera. These guys just blew up and released some absolutely killer albums. So let's discuss those albums and so from worst to best. And just because this comes in last is not talking shit about this album in the slightest because it's fucking brilliant. It's 2000's Reinventing the Steel. Now I listened to this just today when I was at work because it's the one I've listened to the least. And I forgot how good it was actually, and it was actually a bit better than I remembered it being. But it's still bottom of the pile. But like I say, that's not talking shit about it. It's absolutely fantastic. Behind the scenes, the wheels were really falling off with regards to their relations between Phil and the Abbott brothers. Not that you would know from the music, because the music was still fantastic. A good album, this. Really, really good. Like I say, better than I remembered it being. When it first came out, I was really quite disappointed with it, but one of those albums where repeated listens, um, you reap the rewards from repeated listens. Really good stuff on this one. Yesterday Don't Mean Shit. Revolution is my name. Is it Death Rattle? Yeah, Death Rattle. We'll grind the axe for a long time. Goddamn Electric. And what's the other one? Oh, it makes them disappear. I might mention that really, I can't remember. But really, really good stuff. This is a very, very good album. Not quite as good as the rest, but definitely got to have it if you're into Pantera. Yeah, if you're like me and you kind of thought, yeah, it's okay when you first heard it, and I'd strongly urge you to go back and give it another listen because it's really, really good stuff. So yeah, that's the last studio album, Reinventing the Steel, which was released back in 2000. Up next, and lucky to have this, this is actually an original press of the Great Southern Trendkill from 1996. I actually think this is really underrated. A lot of people will talk about the earlier albums, but I think there's a lot of really, really good hidden gems on this one, and it doesn't really get talked about enough. This is fantastic. I had this on cassette when it came out back in the day. Great stuff on here. The opening song, The Great Southern Trendkill, has got a couple of my favourite ever lyrics on any album, where Phil Anselmo says, "You look just like a star. It's proof you don't know who you are." And that's what the album's about, really. You know, just not bucking to trends and putting out the music that you wanted. Because when this came out, this is when nu metal really was taking off. And Pantera were just putting out probably the most brutal album yet. Great stuff on here. Title track, War Nerve, Drag the Waters, Suicide Note Part 1 and 2. Both really good songs. You got the really gentle first part with the acoustic guitar and Phil's vocals, and then the second part is just an all-out assault on your ears. Excellent stuff. There's more great stuff in here too. 13 Steps to Nowhere is good. Living Through Me, Hell's Wrath. Floods, probably one of the best songs they ever recorded, I think. And everyone always talks about Dimebag, but for me, the bass that Rex is playing under the guitar solo in this is fantastic. You sort of you forget what a good bass player he is. Great stuff. Yeah, The Underground in America, Sandblasted Skin. Yeah, things were starting to go wrong between Phil and the other members of the band. I think I remember reading that all the music was recorded in one studio, probably in Texas, because they were from Texas, weren't they? And then Phil recorded the vocals on his own in his home near New Orleans. You would never know, again, that things were going slightly wrong behind the scenes. This is a really, really good album. A bit underrated, I think. And definitely worth giving a listen to again if you've not heard it for a while. Brutal stuff. Really, really good. The Great Southern Trendkill from 1996. Now, the top three, there's not a lot in between these, to be honest. Having to be really nitpicky. But number 3 for me is Cowboys from Hell from 1990. This was obviously the first album where they went really heavy. You can hear traces of it on Power Metal from 1988. Things were starting to go in a bit of a heavy direction then, and you could even make an argument for 1985's is it I Am the Night, I think it's called, isn't it, that album? Yeah, the last one with Terry Glaze on. This is good stuff though. Phil's vocals, definitely some Rob Halford in there, but definitely some Carl Thomas from Exhorder. This is actually how I discovered Exhorder, through a lot of people saying that Phil's voice sounded like Carl's from Exhorder. So that's why I checked them out and how I discovered them. But his voice is definitely a mix of Judas Priest and Carl from Exhorder on this. Brilliant stuff on this. The title track's absolutely fantastic. Domination, one of my favourite songs. Psycho Holiday's great. The Art of Shredding, Message in Blood, Shattered. What are the other ones? Crash with Reality, Medicine Man, Heresy. Tons of great stuff on here. The only one's a bit of a dud for me, Primal Concrete Sledge. Not too fussed on that song. But this is fantastic. Yeah, a step up in gear from what they were doing before, big time. Great songs. Everyone sounds great. Dimebag, still known as a Diamond, of course, on this one. Absolutely shredding. Great drums from Vince. Everyone's on point. Really, really good album. This is my second Pantera album. And yeah, still really, really good to this day. This is a repress from a few years ago, 2 LP set. Heavyweight vinyl, sounds fantastic. Cowboys from Hell from 1990. Killer stuff. So now on to number 2. Yeah, like I say, hard to choose between these two. But number 2, we are going to go with Far Beyond Driven from 1994. If my memory's correct, this album actually went to number 1 in the album charts in America. And that's not just the rock and metal charts, that's the actual album charts. Quite an amazing sort of achievement, really, considering what this record sounds like. It's no watered down attempt at trying to be commercial. This absolutely kicks your ass pretty much from start to finish. I'll get the bad out of the way first. A couple of tracks near let it down. That's Good Friends and a Bottle of Pills. Yeah, and Hard Line, Sunken Cheeks. Not too fussed on those two songs. But the rest of this is absolutely outstanding. Um, Absolutely brilliant. I listened to this so much back in the day when it came out. Strength Beyond Strength, that's a open album. Becoming, 5 Minutes Alone, I'm Broken, Slaughtered, pretty much bordering on death metal, that song. 25 Years, Shedding Skin, Use My Third Arm, Throws a Rejection. And it ends with a cover of Black Sabbath's Planet Caravan. And I much prefer it to Black Sabbath's version, I've got to say. Never been a huge fan of the effects on the vocals on Sabbath's version. For me, this version is far superior. If I had to choose a version to listen to, I'd never choose Black Sabbath. It would always be the Pantera version. This album really, really is outstanding. Apart from those couple of songs I mentioned earlier, I'm not too fussed on. I'll still happily listen to them. But the rest of this is just killer. Everyone's on form. Musically, fantastic. Phil sounds great. An absolutely killer album. To go to number one in the mainstream American chart in the States. Quite some achievement. Like I say, not wimping out at all. Absolutely brutal stuff. Essential, Far Beyond Driven from 1994. Which is obviously given away my number one choice. Yeah, this again, another story that involves my friend Glenn. I first heard Pantera, and I'm pretty sure it was October 1992. It might have been September, but I think it was October. He had the Mouth for War CD single. So obviously I had Mouth for War on. I think it was maybe Rise, and a couple of live versions of Heresy and Cowboys from Hell. So yeah, my first Pantera album was A Vulgar Display of Power. Probably one of the best album covers of all time as far as I'm concerned. This album was just a complete shot in the arm for metal at the time. It's what was really needed, you know. Grunge was really starting to take over. Metal was on its arse, and along come this band from Texas to really slay some nasty, groovy, fucking heavy metal. Brilliant stuff. I can't talk. Man, enough good things about this album. It's absolutely fantastic. This was them at their peak, I think. All four members completely on top of their game. The last album where Darryl was calling himself Diamond, he went on to be Dimebag after this. Absolutely shredding the guitar. Phil sounds fantastic on vocals. Great bass playing from Rex. Vinny, great drums and great songs. I think it's a Terry Date on production. Can't see it right now, but I'm pretty sure it is. But yeah, such an important album for me when I was a teenager back in the early 90s. This is packed with great songs. There's the back. Mouth for War, A New Level, amazing song. Walk, fucking Hostile, brilliant stuff. Rise, This Love, Living a Whole, Regular People, by Demons Driven Hollow. No good. Every single song is killer. It's just an amazing album. One of the most important albums of the 1990s as far as I'm concerned. These guys were absolutely delivering killer stuff. I can remember at the time reading Kerrang, they came over here and toured with Megadeth, and apparently they were blowing Megadeth off the stage every night. This is when the torch was passed as far as I'm concerned. Pantera took it and ran with it. Unfortunately, it didn't last too long. Only 8 years later they split up. But the 5 albums they gave us between 1990 and 2000, there's not a bad one there. If for some reason you haven't listened to Pantera, give them a listen. You know, they were the first ones to really, for me anyway, that I'd heard bring groove to metal. And Phil completely broke down the barriers of what a heavy metal frontman should look like. Before this, metal frontman was all about long hair, um, wearing leather, wearing studs, and he was just completely different. One of the most copied vocalists of all time, as far as I'm concerned, with regards to his voice and his look. Like I say, before this, it was all leather and long hair, and Phil was strutting around on stage, shirt off, tattoos everywhere, shaved head. It was just like nothing that I'd seen before, to be honest. And it was a complete breath of fresh air, and these guys absolutely dominated the 90s. Put some groove in there, which hadn't really been done before, and that's been copied a hell of a lot since. Outstanding band, outstanding album. This is the best as far as I'm concerned, but get all five if for some reason you haven't. A Vulgar Display of Power from 1992. Absolutely essential album and a very, very important album to me in my life. Right, guys, that is it for today. Thanks as always to people who watch, like, comment, and subscribe. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Please get in touch. Let me know what you think about his albums, if you're familiar with them, what your favourites are, all that good stuff. It's great to chat to you all and interact with people into the same kind of music as me. Right, guys, that's all for today. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all next time. All right? Laters.